Hi there, my name is Alana and today I'm so excited to be sharing with you my top 10 eyeshadow palettes for work. Now, I have palettes, I have quads, I have drugstore, I have high-end price points, but what all these palettes have in common is they wear well throughout the day and they look absolutely beautiful and appropriate in an office setting. When I'm not on YouTube, I actually have a full-time corporate office job, and so while the idea of playing with a lot of color can be really fun, I also know that for myself in a external-facing role, it's just not going to work. So I have 10 beautiful neutral eyeshadow palettes here, and one cream shadow is a little bit of a bonus, so stay tuned till the end. I'm so excited to share these with you, and I hope that if you are somebody who is looking for a little bit of inspiration for makeup that you can wear into the office, that you'll find something you enjoy in this curation of palettes I'm bringing forward. What I think makes this video really exciting is I have swatches and how the palette actually looks on the eye for every single palette that I'm going to be including as we talk through this. So without any further ado, let's dive in. So I have the palettes divided into three sections. I've sort of got the affordable drugstore, I've got the luxury quads, and then I have the palettes. So I thought we could start off with the palettes. Now these palettes are great because yes, they look completely appropriate for work, and the look that I'm sharing with you in this video for each of these palettes is appropriate for work. But what I think makes these palettes in particular a cut above the rest is that in addition to that beautiful, light, appropriate day-to-day look for the office, you can also get looks for date night, for spending time with friends. You can get some really great variety. So I think we're going to start off with a palette that I don't see getting a lot of hype, but it is from Lawless and it is the Little One palette. Now this palette, it has 8 shadows in it, which when you consider how small the palette is, I think that's actually pretty impressive. You have 5 matte shadows, 4 of which are various tones of brown and 1 black matte. And then you have sort of a matte with a little something of a sort of ivory white shade and 2 gold shadows. Personally, if I could make one tiny change to this palette, I would swap out one of those golds for maybe more of a bronze or a pink to give a little bit more variety in the look. I don't really find a huge difference between those 2 golds once they're on the eye and blended out. But what I love about this palette is a couple of things. One, if you are really into the mattes, of course you can make a really complex, deep, smoky eye, which is really great. I'm not really a smoky eye kind of girl. I basically wear the look I'm wearing today, just in different color stories, very soft and blown out, and you can achieve that look too with this palette. What I really like is that it's reliable. You know, I've got a little white shade to kind of put under the brow, I've got some browns I can pop in the crease, a gold on top to blend it all in, and I know that I'm always going to look great with this palette. And coming in at only 33 Canadian dollars, I think this palette is really well priced. So while the Lawless is definitely a warm tone palette, the next palette I have to share with you is an absolute classic, a beautiful cool tone palette. It's from Too Faced and it is the Natural Eyes palette. Now I have to admit, I owned this palette in high school when it came in the big chunky cardboard box. I've owned it in the smaller tin, I've owned it in all of its iterations because it is just so reliable. What's nice about this palette is it effectively has 3 predetermined looks. So you can go kind of row by row by row and have a look that's going to work together. But that's not to say that you can't mix and match between them. Personally, I'm always mixing and matching between the palettes. Like, I really like using kind of these 3 here. I enjoy using kind of this, honestly, this little quad here is basically what I reach for the most. Sometimes I'll do kind of Silk Teddy, Cashmere Bunny, kind of this triangle. So I'm definitely mixing and matching, and the look I put together is more of a mix and match look. But if you're newer to makeup and you're a little bit worried about, you know, is this going to look right? Is it going to work together? Then you definitely can't go wrong by just sticking to the curated lines. This palette also has a big, generous mirror, which I really appreciate, and just really beautiful tones that kind of straddle the pinks, browns, and gold family. So you have a little bit more diversity in your look. Again, a well-priced palette, and just a palette that I think is super appropriate. What I think is really great is that this palette is appropriate across the board. Whether you are a student kind of just experimenting with makeup for the first time, or an established professional who just wants something reliable and pretty, I really think that this palette can service everybody, and there's a reason that Too Faced has kind of brought it out in so many iterations but stuck to effectively the same color story. Now the next palette I really debated including, but hear me out. This is the Natasha Denona Glam palette. The reason I debated it is some of those metallic shimmer shades can really pack a punch, and that is what we come to Natasha Denona for. That's what we love about her, that's what we love about her formula. but in an office setting, sometimes it can be a little bit intense. The reason I decided to include this palette is I think that you can make a number of very pretty, subtle day-to-day looks, but the palette also has the ability to ramp itself up for evening, for date night, if you're looking for something a little bit more dramatic. Well, I wouldn't necessarily recommend this palette for somebody new at makeup. I mean, it is relatively pricey. It's a Natasha Denona palette, $87 Canadian. I believe it's 65 US. The reason I hesitate to recommend this palette to somebody who's new at makeup is this palette really has the ability to pack a punch. And that can mean creating a look that's maybe a little too shimmery and sparkly to be appropriate for a daytime office setting. I would maybe recommend going with the natural eyes if you're new to makeup, but if you're a little bit more experienced and you know how to kind of manage a look and manage these formulas, I think this palette is a fantastic investment. Next, I'm going to be sharing with you my luxury quads, and then we will get into the drugstore affordable options. So the next palette is actually one I'm wearing today, and that is the Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Filter Luxury Palette in the shade Star Aura. Now this palette is absolutely stunning. Now if you look at that color story, it definitely doesn't pack a punch, and that's what I love about it. It's very ethereal, it's very elegant, it sits beautifully on the eyelids, and it just has a little bit of shimmer and pearlescence. It really opens up the eyes, and it can build itself up really, really nicely. It's a very lightweight formula, and I will say that I love lightweight formula, especially for those with more mature skin. I find that it doesn't weigh down the eyelids. I love using this palette when I'm, doing my mom's makeup, and I've recommended this palette to my mother-in-law as well. Every time I wear this palette, I feel absolutely beautiful. It is a bit more cool tone. I'm gonna say it's neutral to cool leaning. So if you're somebody who's always reaching for a warm tone palette, within the Flawless Eye filter range, there are other shades that have that lightweight formula. So I'll leave that information linked down below. But for me, again, this is a palette I reach for time and time again. I travel with this palette, I wear it to work. It's one of those palettes that I can just put on, just on autopilot, completely effortless. And that's something I love about quads in general. When I'm getting ready for work in the morning, it's not like I'm getting ready for filming a YouTube video where I have all the time in the world to just play with makeup. Usually I've got between 15 and 20 minutes. I've got to kind of get pretty enough, get out the door, and get to my meeting. And I know that with this quad and many of the others I'm about to share with you, I can achieve that look without even a second glance. And really, that's something I love about quads, is it's just, you've got a color story, you've got a look, there's no decisions to make, it's just bang, 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 done. So, speaking of effortless, something I reach for all the time, this video would not be complete without the Tom Ford Dilicrum eyeshadow quad. Now I know this is incredibly expensive, but this quad I reach for all the time. Within the last year, I've actually had headshots done for work twice. Once at my old job, and then once when I started my new role. And both times that I had to have my headshots done, without a question, I reached for Tom Ford Dilicrum. I find that this is a beautiful, slightly warm tone palette. The gold just has enough sort of, it's not really even a shimmer, it's just an iridescence to it that really lightens up the eye. I love that there's a nice mid-tone matte brown. You've got two satins, two mattes, easy to work with. I don't typically reach for this dark brown as often, but when I do, I can really vamp the look up. And so even though there's only 4 shadows, I really feel like each shadow serves a purpose. And with the 4th, I can bring the look from day to evening. I'm obsessed. I brought it with me on my recent Europe trip. Cannot say enough good things about it. It's subtle, it's natural, and it's absolutely perfect. So this next quad is from Chanel, and it is Elemental. This is a beautiful sort of mauve cool tone quad. It's very, very lightweight on the eyes, so again, great for mature skin. If you are somebody with a more cool tone complexion, I think you'll find this very, very flattering. This is a quad I enjoy reaching for in the winter when I don't have my, this is me tanned, so when I don't have my tan, I don't even know if this counts as a tan, but when I don't have that sort of summer sun-kissed complexion that I enjoy, this is a quad that I enjoy reaching for. I find it's very flattering, it's easy to work with. The shades are, how would I describe it? The shades are pigmented enough to build up, but they're not overpowering, and I think that it is just a really lovely option for the office. Next up, from Dior, I always want to say this is a quad, but I know it's a quint. This is Nude Dress. Nude Dress is a really beautiful quad. What I love about this quint is I really feel like there are multiple eye looks you can create with it. If you stick with this taupe at the bottom, I think it really creates more of a cool tone look, but if you go in with this shimmery sort of, it's like a rosy taupe, it really brightens up the eye. It's a beautiful kind of, I want to say a thicker formula, but it it just works. Overall, this quad is absolutely beautiful. I love that you can take this quad and go more warm tone or more cool tone, but at the same time, everything works together. It doesn't get muddy, and it just looks so flattering on the eyes. Moving down the scale in price, the next palette that I want to share with you is from Tarte. This is the Tarte Power Bar. First of all, I love power. Like, I love the idea of like going to work and you're powerful, you're wearing like a power inspired eyeshadow look, but then also it kind of feels like charging. It's like your power bar, you're charging up. So I love that. This is a really beautiful sort of warm tone rosy palette. So this palette has 6 shades and it's shimmer, matte, shimmer, matte, shimmer, matte. So an even blend of shimmers and mattes. Lighting shade, we have some mattes that we can build up our crease with and deepen our crease if we want something a little darker and smokier. You could totally do a completely matte look if you're into a smoky eye. Of course, if you haven't seen this video, I definitely love a little bit of shimmer and shine on the lids, and we've got 2 beautiful shades. I tend to reach for this one over here a little bit more. It's more of sort of a rosy copper, but if you wanted to go deeper, we also want one that's a little bit deeper, a little bit more purple. Overall, fantastic palette, under $30, which is amazing. Now, for my drugstore mavens, I have 2 eyeshadow palettes that I can't recommend enough for work. We're gonna start with something newer to the market. This is the Maybelline Shadow Block. It's in the shade 82nd and Park Avenue. Again, a really beautiful sort of neutral rosy taupe. So we have a light matte shade here, which is sort of a very pale, almost ivory pink. Then we have a shimmery rosy taupe. And then for our matte shade, we have a medium to deep tone, cool tone brown. So this is a really lovely little trio. I would definitely love to pick up more. I love that they're kind of definitely channeling Kaja there with the little bento box theme. Would love to pick up more from this because the formula is really good. I will say that the white shade is a little powdery. It's not patchy, but it's a little powdery. But to me, the shimmer and the deeper matte definitely make up for it. Really buildable, easy to work with. I don't know if this takes up less space because it is rather wide, but it's fun, it's cute. I haven't seen these in Canada yet, but if you've seen them in Canada, let me know down in the comments. I did pick this up at Target. Was it Target or CVS? I picked it up in the States in early July. I was so excited to get my hands on this. This one. So this is from Undone Beauty and it's a Curator Eye Quad. So it kind of reminds me of those Hourglass palettes that we saw a number of years ago, in that all 4 of the shadows are actually pressed into the same pan. So it's really, I think it's a really flexible palette. It makes it really easy to blend between different shades and sort of mix them together. And especially I find with the darker trio, that's where I do the most mixing. Again, this palette, just like the Maybelline, has everything I need for one look. We've got a light, really like a light shimmery sort of almost ivory with a hint of peach, we'll say. It's a little bit of a richer ivory that we can pop under our brows and in our inner corner. Then we've got a matte purple, we've got a shimmery taupe, and a shimmery almost like a copper brown. So we've got 4 different shades in here. Generally speaking, I think this is a cool tone palette. The formula actually reminds me a lot of Charlotte Tilbury's Star Aura in that it's very lightweight, very shimmery, very easy to build, but you're not going to get too intense of a look. Overall, just a fantastic palette. I haven't seen this brand available in Canada. I did pick this up last fall when I was in South Carolina. Again, I'm not sure if it was CVS or Target or Ulta, but you know, hopefully our American viewers are able to comment where exactly you can pick it up. I love buying drugstore makeup in the States because I find that there's just so much more variety, such a better price point. This comes in at $10, which is fantastic. It really just punches above its weight. It's not really a palette that I've seen spoken about much on YouTube, but it's one that, again, if I just want a reliable, pretty look that I know is going to be appropriate, I reach for it, and I think it's super pretty. And we're going to get into one little bonus. This is from Charlotte Tilbury, and it's the Eyes to Mesmerize in the shade Pillow Talk. Now, I consider this a bonus because it is not an eyeshadow palette. It's a one and done cream shadow, but if you are in a rush and you just need something that looks pretty, you won't go wrong with this Charlotte Tilbury Eyes to Mesmerize. I like to take my brush and sort of pat it onto my lid with a kind of like a dense shader brush, and then I take a fluffy blending brush and I just do those little kind of back and forth little windshield wiper motions and blend it out. And honestly, I can get a beautiful dimension, beautiful build, beautiful shaping with one shadow, which I think is fantastic. And I do find that the Pillow Talk shade is really, really flattering. It's not as warm tone as I often see Charlotte Tilbury's Pillow Talk family go. It's like a neutral, not quite a cool tone, but it's definitely a neutral. and I find it just looks very natural but polished on the eyes. So anyways, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. 10 eyeshadow palettes and quads that you can wear every single day to work, and one and done shadow is a little bit of a bonus. I hope this video has helped you. So we're in fall, kids are going back to school, it's a long weekend here in Canada, and I really feel like things restart after the long weekend. It kind of has a back to school, back to work vibe. There's something about the change in seasons that feels like a fresh start. So if you were looking to up your makeup game for the return to work, or you're just looking to elevate to that next level, I hope that you found this video helpful. I think we all want to look professional at work. We all want to put our best face forward, but sometimes we can be a little bit worried, is it too much? And I think that with these palettes, other than the larger palettes, which I gave my caveat on, I think that you are always going to look pretty and polished wearing them. I'd love to hear from you guys down in the comments below if there's any other palettes that you love wearing to work, if there's other palettes that you rely on for day to day. Let me know if you've enjoyed this video. I have a few other eyeshadow palette recommendation videos that I'm working on, and I can't wait to share them with you soon. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Check out the videos up here if you want to see some more content from me, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye. Mwah.